What's up, deviants? I'm your host, Courtney Watts, and we are on the unceded lands of the Wanneroo people. This is Court is in Session, a Reddit Reads podcast, where game recognises game. We judge assholes because we admit we've been one. We offer advice on shitty situations because we've been there, and we share Aussie cultural takes because you wouldn't understand what the fuck we were talking about if we didn't. Whether we're being cunts or just serving it, we know it when we see it. I'm joined here by my mother, Jenny. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, on camera shy.
So we are shooting this for our Mother's Day episode. So we have a whole host of mother dramas to be commenting on today. I'm just going to pick them at random, see what happens. Funnily enough, this is one that I specifically chose for you because it was you specifically.
Okay.
And it's actually only mum adjacent. Am I the asshole? Do I owe my dad an apology for graduating college? So this is a nuanced story, but I'll just get to the basics of it. My dad, after graduating from high school, was given $15,000 a year from his parents for 4 years to attend Penn State. For most of my life, I believed that he graduated from Penn State to become an architect. For most of my 20s, I was basically a hopeless heroin addict. I became sober at age 28 and pursued a degree in mortuary science. I graduated top of my class and went on to become a funeral director. My parents didn't attend my graduation, and my dad was nastier than usual to me after I graduated, and actually ever since I began attending college. As a matter of fact, I had asked him for help when I was studying for my entrance exams, and I found his reaction strange. He said I should just quit, that college is for lazy people who are looking for an excuse to sit all day. Regardless, I continued on and actually placed pretty decently. The summer I graduated, there was a small write-up in the paper that said OP graduates with honours. I didn't know it was going to be in the paper, I had nothing to do with it, and I certainly didn't know my parents would see it. The next time I saw my dad, he got in my face and wanted me to admit I never went to college and I was just out being a drunken, drug-addicted whore. After that, my contact with him basically ended. I was baffled as to where that story came from and came to find out from my uncle, my dad's brother, that he never really graduated from Penn State. He took his parents' money and lived at his friend's house for some years and just drank all day. So fast forward to the present. My mum wants me to apologise to my dad for going to college. She says that every day he says he's watching the stocks, he'll read what analysts say and go on a rant about college-educated idiots. His nickname for me is the college-educated idiot. My mum says that he took it personally that I went to college and graduated when he secretly didn't, so he thinks I only did it to look better than him. She thinks if I apologise to him and say I was lying about it and never really went, that this will make him feel essentially as though he's reclaimed his position over myself and my sister as better, and make him feel more like a man, since he will feel like he's achieved more than his daughters, and he won't feel like basically his crown is being threatened by having us having any achievements that outdo his achievements. My mum thinks I should do this to keep the peace. I don't really want to lie to degrade myself in order to make him feel better. I think it's a fruitless effort and he'll always be an asshole. Meanwhile, I'm getting guilt-tripped saying that I should be willing to do anything because you're the kid and you should do as you're told, especially for my poor old parents. I'm being told that if I don't do this, I'll kill my mum from how much this hurts her to hear about, the college-educated idiot every day. So am I the asshole for refusing to do this?
No. I can't. I'd be proud of having my daughter achieve something that I couldn't. So I don't understand why the mother should expect to apologise. I know I wouldn't expect her to apologise to him. That's, yeah, no hard answer there for me.
Sounds familiar though, doesn't it?
It does a little. I had little bits of, yeah.
Yeah, the college-educated idiot is very much sounds the God cuts the dicks off the dumb ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Same vibe, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can't understand why she would expect that from her child to apologise, especially knowing that he didn't even achieve anything anyway. I'd be proud that the daughter done that.
But you've also been in the position of having to survive in a very emotionally volatile household where you were kind of desperate to keep the peace for the sake of your own
for sure.
safety.
There's no arguments there, but
like at this point, both of the kids are adults and gone.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Like even I just can't warrant why that she would expect that.
He could just go back to college and get a degree.
To sort of guilt the kids into, not him not wanting them to go to college in the first place. I mean, of course any normal person would want their kids to go to college, get degrees or whatever, or not, but if they wanted to better themselves, that they, you would support them in that, not the other way around. I just don't understand. And for him just to whittle away his money that he got from his parents in the first place, and the daughter doing it all on her own, that's just amazing to me.
Especially if you add in the fact that she was an addict of heroin, of all things.
And that's even...
And she pulled herself out of that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that hits home too, to me.
Yeah. That's
in a
my
big way.
sister. Yeah.
Like to see what she's achieved from where she was as a early teenager, to do it on her own to get where she is now is amazing.
Yeah.
And even you yourself, you've done everything that you've done on your own. What you have on your walls of diplomas in this and that, you were never one not to study something. Even when you're working and you had a job, you'd still be striving for something else. And it's just amazing what you've done. And I feel very proud. And for you to be told when you were younger that you were stupid and wouldn't amount to anything. And I used to always say to you how proud I was of what you were doing and I could see that you would be able to do more, that your mind was just constantly working.
Yeah, that the difference between wisdom and intelligence.
And from a very young age, there was that wisdom and intelligence, like from early.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that's where the getting called stupid and dumb came from, because it was one of the, Courtney, you're so smart, how can you be so dumb? But
not knowing how your mind was working was one of the things that I struggled with. I knew you were smart. I knew that you would make something of yourself. How, I did not know back then, but I knew that from a very early age, and I'm talking about kindergarten and early learning, like you were writing earlier, you were reading earlier, you used to outclass everybody, and always needing to, when you finish something, have something there to continue on with.
I feel like, if anything, that's what got to certain family members the most, because it's like it didn't make sense for someone with that level of intelligence to be struggling in the ways that I was. It's that presumed, this should be a global thing. Like, you're either capable or you're not.
Yeah.
The idea that disability can co-occur with, high capacity and competence in certain areas.
But back then, it wasn't really thought of that this was what it could be. There was something, you were just a naughty girl. You were just being naughty.
If I was a boy, it would have all been chalked up to boys will be boys.
Exactly.
And Luke, cousins, were getting ADHD diagnoses and getting treatment and supports. But for me, it's there's nothing wrong with any daughter of mine. It can be flogged out of her.
Well, basically, yeah. But even with your sisters, they didn't understand. They were in their own world and doing their own thing, and, they didn't understand. And I didn't understand either. I could honestly say I knew that there was something wrong because of all the way you were treated in school, the amount of programs you were on from the teachers to, programs to try to sort you out, I suppose, and understand what was going on. But
took them until year 5 to just give me a book to read.
I'm being called up to the school so many times for disruption of class, etc., etc. But and it ran right through, even through high school, But
there's a reason
early working life, you would see the rules in front of you and your policies and procedures to do in early working life. But if you felt that things needed to change or there was a better way of doing something, you would do it without worrying about what the consequences were from changing those procedures. So, yeah, it's just like a flow-on effect from youth to then.
And honestly, like she says, early working life, that hasn't changed. There are still plenty of rules that are there when I'm going into schools, and it's like, no, I don't care. Like if my integrity says that XYZ child needs this, then I'm going to provide that. Trans kids in schools, I don't give a shit if their
No.
parents think that they need to be spoken to using the name that's on their birth certificate. My respect and care for those kids of knowing that school is a safe space, I am a safe person, is more important than whether or not I get in trouble because the parent has found out that I'm using their chosen name and pronouns.
Yeah.
Even then, that's being well aware of the consequences, but knowing it's the right thing to do anyway.
But I feel even now in high school, like, you know, how one of our family members have gone through primary schools being bullied, et cetera, to getting into high school, and they're more accepted.
Yeah.
There's more acceptance now in high school because there's a lot more of these types of children. So I feel that that's just fantastic in a you know, I believe that you are who you are and you live how you want to live. If you're not hurting anyone else in that process, good on you. You know, like live your life.
Yeah, that's part of the
Be
reason
happy.
why I do live my life and do my jobs the way that I do.
Yeah.
Specifically because all of the struggles that you described through your primary school and high school and beyond, it does all come back to me trying to figure out who I am and where my place is in the world. Seeing schools change as they have socio-emotionally and culturally, kids are able to find who they are a lot easier because the parts of us that we used to try and hide so much, that's not really happening anymore. Being an adult now, being surrounded by so many autistic and ADHD disability advocates and academics who know this and live this and research this consistently, kids aren't growing up the way I did anymore, feeling like it's only me. It's literally no one else. I am the only one like me. It took me until I was an adult to be like, oh, you're like me. And to see other people. Now I've just gone straight to the pipeline of, oh, literally no one I know is of the predominant neurotype.
Always be those types that put those sort of people down and et cetera, et cetera. You're not going to get rid of that totally, but I think they're going to be more in a minority.
And it doesn't have the impact when you have community, the safety of community, of having others like you. It's like, oh, well, I know I'm not an error in the system because I literally have like 20 other people that I can call on that have the exact same experience as I do, that shows that, you know, we are part of the design, not a flaw in it. Are you ready for the next one?
Sure.
My mum, 55 female, won't let me have my own room or live on my own. So I, 22 female, recently got a decent job. Ever since I was little, I've always shared a room with my mum. My brother has his own room, but she's never allowed me to have mine. I told her that maybe if I saved money, I could buy an apartment with 3 rooms so we could each have our own space. But she refused and said that if I want to find an apartment, it should only be a 2-room place so we can continue sharing. The problem is, sharing a room with her for 22 years has been exhausting. I have no privacy, I get irritated because she leaves the room messy, I just want to manage my own space. I feel bad because every little thing that she does annoys me now, and I don't want to feel that way, but I can't help it. I've thought of living on my own, but when I bring up living independently, she completely shuts it down. We've argued about this before, and I gave up in the past. But now that I'm older and working, I feel like I can't keep sacrificing my independence. How can I set boundaries with my mum without completely damaging our relationship? Has anyone else dealt with this kind of overprotectiveness?
Well, I have no idea. She's an adult. Live with your mother for that. I can't comprehend that, why she would want her daughter to share a room in the first place.
Well, to be fair, you were one of 10 siblings. And you had 5 children.
Yes.
So them being financially independent and self-sustaining enough to be able to buy their own place, you'd be like, yes, get the fuck.
Yes, go and, you know, see the world, whatever. I mean, at one stage, we were 3 brothers, 3 sisters in one bedroom with a curtain dividing.
Brady Bunch style.
And, you know, the younger 2 was in with mum and dad for all our younger years. And got
Necessity.
Colleen and got married. They were the older ones, so we were still so many sharing a room. Growing up, you had to share a room, but as they got older and started working and left, well, I mean, Mum and Dad were quite happy for that to happen and, get us out of their room.
Because again, when you're Irish Catholic family, there's so many people living in one house.
But I don't know, maybe she had some sort of security issue with the child growing up, with the daughter. I suppose I don't know. I have no idea what.
Oh, maybe she's had some sort of trauma herself where she's like, I need to protect my daughter.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good possibility.
There definitely is some sort of unhealthy emotional attachment here where she's codependent of not wanting to be separated from her daughter.
Like for her mentally, she's going to need to be on her own and have her own independence.
Well, there's growth opportunities she's going to miss if she doesn't.
Exactly. So that's for her. And
like setting it up the way your family did and our family did at times, it was a out of necessity thing to make sure that everyone had a bed and everyone.
That's right.
Safe. Yeah. Whereas the fact that this is a choice, an active choice that she's throwing down like barriers up against.
I don't know how I would contemplate that. From the mum's point of view, I could probably think that's all I could think of, that she was pretty much too much attached to her to let her, but not even have her own room. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm thinking like it was something.
What happens if she meets a guy or meets someone and she wants to be with them and move out and have her own partnership? What would the mother expect them both to live there?
Those little coastly.
Like, I can't. Don't understand
that in the comments either. It's like, what happens if you're like, getting
she's
married?
22. I mean, she's got to have
sabotage that relationship to maintain her status.
Exactly. I don't know.
We do have an edit. Thank you all for the advice. You are all right. In order to bring control back into my life, it should start with me setting up my boundaries. I just got my new job, so I have a long way to save up, but I will start finding a place of my own and eventually move out. I love my mum and I don't want to break my relationship with her, but I realise that I should also put myself first.
Exactly, yeah. Well, at least like she seems like she knows what she's got to do. It's not like she's, that attached that she's not even contemplating it. It looks like she's on the right track anyway.
So, like, to have the emotional maturity of being like, of not just being like, I hate my mum for this, she's such a bitch. Like, actually being like, no, like, she's my mum and I love her and I want to keep it that way. Exactly. So to recognize that growing resentment and being like, this isn't going to end well for my relationship.
And I think the mum would come around anyway, eventually, if she loves her enough and wants to keep that relationship going. In the end, I think she will accept it.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be some extinction burst behaviour where she will completely lose her shit. But then if this is in particular like a safety concern issue, and basically after a couple of weeks or months, her mum can see like, yes, she's safe and fine and living.
Yeah.
She's okay.
Because it could be from her own insecurities and...
Yeah, because also, where's the dad?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you've got a brother, I'm assuming he's an older brother.
Yeah. So
and you're sharing, she said that she's been sharing a bed with her mum her entire life. So it's like, did dad do a runner during the pregnancy or did he die?
Who knows?
You ready for a rough one?
Suppose so.
In therapy, but still struggling with guilt for cutting off my family after my mother asked me to get an abortion so I can keep funding their lives.
Oh.
I posted this a few weeks ago, but my post got removed. I know this is a subreddit for mostly mother-in-laws, but this is about my family, my mother specifically. Basically, I grew up the black sheep while my younger brother was the golden child. If you haven't heard the phrase golden child, it's basically where one sibling gets treated far better than the others.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that.
Basically the opposite of a black sheep. Typical stuff like no money for my birthdays or education, but suddenly there was money for him. They missed my college graduation because he had a baseball game, that kind of stuff. A few years ago, my dad had some health problems and had to retire early. I started helping out financially with medical bills, but then came the emergency loans I was never paid back. Then could you cover the electricity bill just this once? Over the course of a few years, I ended up paying most of their bills monthly, plus part of the mortgage. This all blew up when a few weeks ago they invited my husband and me to a family dinner where they asked me to take out a huge loan to invest in my brother's latest business idea. They had recently found out I was pregnant and I told them I couldn't take on this debt and I actually needed to work with them about reducing the amount of money I was giving them because my priority was now my future child. They screamed, told me I was dead to them, and kicked me and my husband out. About a week later, my mother asked to meet and told me that she and my father had discussed that now is not the time to start a family until we were all financially stable. She told me it was still early on and I had options. I couldn't believe she was suggesting I terminate my pregnancy just to keep funding their lives. I stood up and left. So I cut them off, I blocked them all, and stopped all payments. Recently, my mother got a notice that the electricity bill is past due. She's told family that I've abandoned them, and I'm getting nasty calls from relatives telling me I'm selfish. One cousin called me to ask what was going on. She told me that my mother's telling everyone they've hit a bit of a rough patch and asked me for help, and I told them to figure it out themselves. I told her that was not what happened, and I've given them over $60,000 in the past few years. Since it was just a few days before we decided to announce the pregnancy, I confided in her that I was pregnant and my mother wanted me to terminate so I could keep giving them money. She was appalled. So she asked if I wanted her to tell everyone the real story, and I told her not to bother. They all saw how I was treated my whole life. They believed my mother's lies and ridiculed me without even asking my side. They showed themselves to be no one I needed in my life. A few days later, we announced our pregnancy on our socials, and the next day, that same cousin sent me a screenshot of Facebook. My mother somehow found out we announced. Most family was by then blocked on all platforms, and made a passive-aggressive post about how the people you love the most hurt you the most, and how her daughter is going to keep her grandchild from her. My cousin replied to it, the same grandchild you told OP to abort so you could keep draining her financially. Apparently, the entire family is going at it now. Some of them want to reach out to me but can't, and I just don't care. I'm that cousin. That's me. OP also means original poster, so it's talking about the person who made the post. I started therapy a few weeks ago. I still refuse to be in contact with them, which makes me feel horrible, even though I know it's right for me and my family. I also refuse to give them another cent, and I feel so much guilt because I know they'll probably lose the house. My brother will never step up. My parents are too proud to downsize and try to live within their means. They're both healthy now and still young, late 50s, and there's nothing keeping them from working full-time jobs. Dad is still retired and my mum works part-time. I keep telling myself that I'm not doing this to hurt them. I'm doing it to let my child have what I never did, but it's tough because the years of conditioning to do more to finally feel loved is still there. Sorry for the long rant. That's devastating.
Yeah, it is. Maybe she should have cut him off a bit earlier, I think. I don't know why I can't contemplate why she was funding them in the first place.
So you let people take advantage of you if you think it means they might love you.
Yeah, I don't know how to comment on that one. She should just keep them cut off, and the rest of the family maybe not. You know, they don't know what's going on. They're only getting one side of the story and that, but you know, they didn't try to contact her to get her side of the story anyway, and just believed the mum. Yeah, I don't know. I can't realise why you would want your own child to fund your bills anyway and your lifestyle.
See, I think that's coming from your own Catholic guilt of feeling like a burden on anybody.
Yeah.
Like the idea that you would ask any one of us to abort a kid.
No, that's just, you know, there's different situations but she's in a relationship, so.
Yeah, there are definitely better circumstances than others, but
she's
you
in a
being in a
relationship,
financial
she doesn't
bind
have.
would not be the
No,
issue in question.
not at all.
Like with the
That's
family.
just sad, really.
Yeah.
To have her funding even her brother's, you know, a brother as well. Where's he? Why can't he work? You know?
It's kind of how the golden children work. No matter how they behave, they're always kind of taken care of to the nth degree, so they never actually learn any self-sufficiency.
Oh, it's weird. I can't relate to any of that at all.
Yeah, well, I would hope not. But when it comes to the family, it's like OP did say that the family have noticed how she's been treated in comparison to her brother, like their entire life.
I would have to see it. I don't know how they couldn't have and just take her side in the first place.
Well, once you're an adult, like I feel like when I found out about my disabilities, there were still times there where it's been made quite clear that even from like the sibling side of things, they can't reframe how they view me in relation to this new information because it was so cemented from all their experiences with me growing up, me being the problem even when I'm not, or the assumption that if something happens with me, either it wasn't that big of a deal or I deserved it, or I'm lying about it, or it's me blowing things out of proportion. Like, it's so easy for people to fall into that belief based on the experience I've personally had with me that they had prior to knowing that there were these other things at play.
Yeah.
So when you've been thinking one way about a person for so long, it takes a large active amount of effort to kind of reframe your thinking. And it doesn't happen passively. It's an active process. You've got to put an actual lot of work into when it comes to reframing how you see them and your immediate thoughts and feelings about them and whether or not they're accurate or not. And everyone's just so busy that people don't bother doing that. So if this OP has been the black sheep their entire life, then it's quite possible that, like a bunch of people who knew me growing up, it made sense what the mother was saying based on everything that they'd seen and experienced and heard when OP was growing up, that reframing that, it just wasn't a thought that crossed their minds. There is an update. Many thanks to the community that gave me so much support and advice when I posted a few months ago. Long story short, for the last few years, I slowly ended up covering my parents' bills and mortgage while they funded my brother's lifestyle. When I discovered I was pregnant, my parents suggested I have an abortion because a baby meant I'd need to lower my financial commitment to them. I went no contact immediately. And I'm still no contact with my parents, my brother, and a chunk of the family that took their side at first before finding out the real story of what happened. Honestly, it feels like a huge weight is off my shoulders. I've even worked with a doctor and slowly come off Zoloft for my anxiety now that my main source of anxiety is gone. For years, too much of my mental energy was hyper-focused on struggling to cope with my bills, their bills, and worrying if my savings account had enough in it to cover their next inevitable emergency. From what I've heard from my cousin and aunt, they turned on my brother and told him he needed to get a job and start paying rent. He got mad and moved out, which was really just him staying on his friend's couch. After a month of mooching off his friend, he got kicked out there and returned home. Still jobless and not paying rent, apparently. Oh, and the kicker, they tried convincing my aunt to tell me my father had a heart attack. He didn't. So I'd get back in touch so they could try to guilt me into restarting my transfers to their bank. I can't believe I was once so desperate for these people's love.
Yeah.
Lots of people told my parents to sell their house, pay off the second mortgage they took out, and downsize. They refused, and the bank has started the foreclosure process. Family refuses to help them because they saw how the occasional help from me ultimately turned into monthly obligation, and they don't want to fall into that trap. I honestly don't know what they'll do, but I keep telling myself that they are 3 adults capable of sorting themselves out or dealing with the consequences of refusing to do so, and my child will never know the people who wanted them aborted because they were in the way of free cash. My husband and I are enjoying the last few weeks of being a duo and looking forward to our next chapter.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, she will. Looks like she's done the right thing. Yeah, like she's on the right track.
Like, to have someone commenting or to just make that, like, she didn't make it a blatant request, but just the implication of the suggestion. The entitlement, the absolute entitlement, the audacity.
Exactly.
Next one. Mother-in-law constantly commenting on my body. I'm pregnant and just barely starting to show. Since my in-laws found out, my mother-in-law has been comparing her pregnancy symptoms and body to mine. Even when I'm not around, she asks my significant other if I'm showing yet. I've only just started showing, and in public settings, she said, "You've got a belly," twice in a row in this high-pitched tone. It felt unnecessary, so I just said, "Yeah, that's what happens." The very next day, we saw her again, and during an off-topic conversation with my sister-in-law, mother-in-law randomly said, "She's growing a belly." I replied, "I'm growing a baby, not a belly." I also just told her that just because I'm pregnant doesn't mean it's okay to comment on my body. Give it to me straight, Reddit.
Well, look, even I'm afraid I've been guilty of saying, wow, you're getting a belly, but it's not something I would say all the time.
I also feel like
mean-
you'd say it as in, like, belly equaling baby.
Baby,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I would, yeah.
Whereas
but
the implication here is that she's getting fat.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
and
well,
not that there's anything wrong with that either, but
No, there's not. But no, I don't. No, that's just wrong to continually do that.
did Nan ever drop you some shady comments when you were pregnant with any of us?
She used to say to me when I used to walk in and I was pregnant, she'd say, "Oh, here's Belly followed by Jenny." That was one of the things she used to say. And that was every time she seen me, like it wasn't just a one-time thing, but I loved it.
Yeah, like, to be fair, as someone who's not even 5 foot tall and has been pregnant with twins, like, that's objectively funny.
Well, yeah, it was
and
quite-
accurate.
And yeah, I never ever took offence to that. But she was the only one that ever said it. Like, my siblings would probably say, "Oh, gee, you're getting big," but that still didn't worry me.
If anything, that sounds like concern. Like,
Yeah,
girl, you're tiny. Like, we're
but
worried about.
it was after the birth that I would take offence.
Yeah.
More than while I was pregnant, but that never ever come from any of my family. They never made me feel horrible by any comments that they made after I had babies. The only comment I ever got was from one certain male fathered these babies that would call me horrible names. That person is the only one that ever made me feel really dreadful.
Yeah, sounds accurate.
So, some names that I could never mention, some of the names he used to call me. And a lot of the times I were pregnant.
It's like, well, bro, shouldn't have gotten me pregnant. Like,
So I mean,
it's all on you, my man.
yes, that's in the past and I won't dredge up my past.
A lot of the comments is basically just like punchy one-liners that she should shoot back in response. She's an asshole. Yeah, I'm growing a baby. That's why my belly's extended. What's your excuse?
Responding to them like she's not getting, she's offended. You can tell she's offended, but she's not hurling it back at her.
Yeah.
With abuse.
And
She's just saying she's just putting a...
She's got the shits about the right thing too. It's like she doesn't seem to really care about what size she is in general.
Yeah.
It's I can tell you're actively trying to make me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
And that's what's upsetting me.
Yeah.
Just why are you trying to make me feel bad? Like, why? Like, I remember one of the only comments, like, Rebecca never fucking shuts up about everything. She's got to always have a comment all the time, especially when it came to like the pregnancies and stuff. And I'm going to do this and it should be like this and whatever. But that's just her, and I never really took anything about it. But in particular, when I was pregnant with Viridian, my oldest, one of the key comments that stood out then, because I was very pregnant at your wedding, and Viridian's pop visited because he ended up staying with us that night. I did hear him saying that I looked really healthy. And obviously that was bringing up a lot of trauma for him because my son's dad was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. We've discussed that my previous mother-in-law is an addict. And so seeing a big, healthy, pregnant woman to him is a really good thing, a really healing thing for him, to see that same son that was born of those circumstances was very obviously having a significantly healthier child to the one that he himself had. That also really helps you put things in perspective when you're having, societally pushed body issues, that when you're at your biggest in those moments, just what that means to some people when it comes to, health and safety, because a lot of people that don't have that end up in a really rough way. It kind of, puts it in perspective of what you should actually be grateful for and what you should be aiming for when it comes to a pregnancy.
Yeah.
One more.
Sure.
My mother-in-law put her hands on me and physically restrained me when I tried to take my baby home.
Whoa.
Sure. Anyone ever tried to take off one of ours?
No, I can't relate to that.
I feel like they would have brought us back after a while.
Physically tried to stop. Well, all I could say is you'd knock the crap out of her, wouldn't you?
Well, you'd probably try. Possible trigger warning for violence and attempted abduction, kind of. Title: She and the father-in-law have been watching my 13-week-old for a couple of days while I was recovering from a bad upper respiratory infection. It was bad enough to send me to the ER with my oxygen dropping into the low 80s. When I went to get her without my husband, my mother-in-law decided to get on my case about my daughter being gassy. This has been an ongoing thing with them, and I've told them multiple times that not every cry with her is gas and that the pediatrician says she's fine. For whatever reason, she and father-in-law are obsessed with thinking it's gas and trying to fix it. The latest attempt was secretly buying a different kind of bottle to use. I always provided bottles when they watched her because they were advertised as good for colicky babies, which my daughter is not. My mother-in-law refused to listen when I was explaining that the bottle had nothing to do with it, and she kept saying that some random nurses she knew recommended them. I had enough of the conversation and said as much and told my father-in-law to put my daughter in her car seat so I could leave. Mother-in-law said no, and I repeated to give me my damn child. Mother-in-law then got in my face screaming that I can't talk like that in her house, and my baby, of course, starts screaming. I try to go to comfort her, and mother-in-law tells father-in-law to take her to another room and grabs my arm, holding me back and not letting me get near my child. I tried to get her off, but she kept holding me. She had grabbed me hard enough to bruise my inner arm. I threatened to call the cops on her for effectively kidnapping my child at that point. She screamed that if I did, she would have me put on a 72-hour hold. She then shoved me into the corner of the room, so I still couldn't get my daughter, and began berating me. She screamed that I was ungrateful for all they do, that I apparently look down on her, that I don't trust them to care for my daughter, and that because of me, mother-in-law supposedly now has anxiety and blood pressure issues that she needs medication for. At this point, I'm bawling and just wanted my daughter. Mother-in-law continued to berate me and kept me from my daughter until she, mother-in-law, had calmed down, and then she let my father-in-law put her in the car seat and let me take her. Mother-in-law then did a complete 180 and started trying to make small talk like none of that just happened. She then tried to say that she was just protecting my daughter because she didn't want me driving off too fast with her because I was frustrated with them. I told her I'd never put my daughter in harm's way like that and left. My husband doesn't know what to make of the situation. I told him I don't want to be around mother-in-law, and our daughter will not be either. I don't care that they were our only childcare help right now. I don't feel safe around her, and I don't trust her to keep my daughter safe if she's this mentally unstable. My husband is supporting my decision. He hasn't talked to his mum since and is trying to find a time to talk with her about her behaviour and the consequences. It just sucks that this came out of nowhere with her. As I said, they were our help. My family are all 2+ hours away. At this point, I don't know if I'll ever let her see my daughter again. I know if my husband goes no contact permanently, she'll flip shit. From the start, she called him her little ride or die and told me that whatever I do, don't try and come between them. If I asked him to do it to protect our daughter, he would in a heartbeat. Is it crazy of me to ask him if we can move closer to my family?
Yeah, it's not unfair to ask him that. I feel like if you could move closer to her family, it'll give her a little bit more confidence. But and as for the relationship between the mother and the son, let them have that relationship, but I wouldn't include the baby.
I disagree. I think it's gross. Like, there's mums of boys, and then there's hashtag boy mums.
Yeah.
You know, the men who are like giving promise rings to their pubescent daughters, where it's like, you know, your virginity is mine until you one day give it to your husband. Your hashtag boy mums on like Instagram and shit, where it's like, no girlfriend you ever have will ever matter more than me, and I'm always, you know, the number one woman in your life. Like, it's this enmeshment, like it is emotional incest in both cases. It's gross, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but from what I just got from that, the question was, you know, but for a start, if that was me, I wouldn't ever go back to the mother-in-law's place with the baby. I would keep the baby away from her, and I wouldn't trust her not to do it again. But as for the relationship between her husband and his mother, you know, I wouldn't want them to have contact. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, she is his mother. It's on him whether or not he sees her or speaks to her.
Either way,
You know,
like, she in general is his responsibility.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. You can't she can easily keep the baby from her, from the in-laws, but I mean, she physically can't stop him from seeing him or talking to him. Well,
I don't think it's
their mother.
Like, I don't think that would be pretty much if you are having to place like give the people in your life like ultimatums like that, then there's already concerns there. If he was wanting to be like, oh well, that's my mother, I'm going to continue to have a relationship with her, that would need to come with the recognition that that's automatically going to be destabilizing in your relationship. Because it's like, okay,
for sure.
if you're maintaining a relationship with someone who is clearly unsafe and untrustworthy and clearly not recognizing my own rights to my infant child, if that's the company you keep, I'm questioning you now. But in this case, there is some comments saying that he's wanting to talk to her to see whether or not he can get it either in a text message or over the phone to get a recording to see whether or not she admits it. So that way they have physical proof that what she's claiming has happened. Because there is an edit here Since I can't reply to everyone with the police report, there's an extra layer of concern that was too much to type for the original text. They're best friends with the sheriff for their county, which the incident happened in. So if I file a report, there's almost no way he won't find out about it, and I don't trust that he won't contact my mother-in-law. Even if I report with my local agency, they'd have to forward the report. And with our last name, it's distinct and recognisable. The officers for that department would definitely know who it was, and I'm worried with small town gossip that things would get back to mother-in-law. Oh, corrupt assholes.
As for moving closer to her family, yeah.
It just seems like a good idea anyway.
That would be
Like if you've got
really,
family 2 hours away, then you live like in the
Yeah.
middle, ideally, to kind
exactly.
of maximise the amount of support that you could get.
Yeah.
But that was before this. I don't know. It's like that mama bear strength. Like I've pulled off some shit that someone of my frame should not be able to do because like something was happening with my kids. Like when Aura disappeared that day, I was vaulting over fences like I was an Olympic gold medalist. I cannot imagine a woman who is, I'd say, 50s, maybe even 60s, being able to physically restrain me.
Yeah.
Like that would not be possible. Like even 13 weeks postpartum.
Yeah. But as you said, if she's not long been in hospital, she probably wouldn't be at her strength anyway.
Yeah,
but
from a respiratory infection.
yeah, so she might have had that strength to be in that position to do that. I know.
Got to remember the
the
miscongeniality train.
Yeah.
In
I know
step.
if it was me.
Like,
And yeah, I can understand that adrenaline kicking in because I've been in there in a couple of situations where you just don't know your own strength until you've got to use it.
yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And then it's like, even if you're mentally or cognitively trying to focus your strength, then it's like you feel like you reach a limit and you can't go further. But then when the situation demands for it, it's like magnified.
It's funny, and that brings me when you say that about adrenaline and strength. I don't think of like when you after having kids, but I remember I was probably about 10, maybe 9, and my brother's older brother and a few friends and kids across the road and all that crap were playing hide and seek. And out the back of our house, because we didn't have an inside toilet, it was an outside toilet, we had an old fridge, and it was one of those fridges like, what do you call them, with the big handles. It was like I had a word for them, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't just a normal fridge.
It's like one of those big, like, cool room, like, Kelvinator fridges.
Yeah, but it was old, like really old. Well, I decided to hide in that. But then
Brilliant idea.
my brother come along, seen where I was and shut the fridge. So I couldn't get out. Never come back. I was screaming because you couldn't breathe in a thing like that after a while.
No, people used to be able to like hide in those things to protect them from nuclear.
I don't know how I did it, but I was very small. There wasn't much of me. I was probably about the same. Like at 9-year-old, I was probably Annie's size. I wasn't very big, so I could have been a bit younger, and I just put my back up against the back of the fridge, brought my legs up and just pushed as hard as I could, and it flung open. And, you know, that was the most physically relief that I couldn't believe I had the strength to do that. Break the whole lot. In them old fridges, mate, they locked. They were like big latches, so that wasn't like they...
It was like Commodores in the 80s. You couldn't kill them.
Yeah, and that's one thing I remember, and that's just the first thing that came to my mind when you said adrenaline and strength, because, yeah.
You really find out what you're made of when you're fifth in your
I
life.
don't know how long I was in there. I could still hear them running around, playing and yelling and screaming as you do when you're playing hide and seek and all that sort of stuff, but they wouldn't have heard me. If someone come around, they wouldn't have heard me because the thickness
soundproofing,
of those fridges were just crazy. And I kept just hoping someone would come and go to the toilet, because the outside toilet was basically opposite me.
Was the fridge on? Or was it just out there?
No, it's just there. It was just like it was just sitting there. It wasn't on.
Which brother was it?
Brian, my older brother. Yeah.
They're all your older brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, yeah. But it was only him.
What did you do? Like when you got out of there, did you go and find him?
I don't remember. I'd say I would have run and told Mum what he done. But yeah, I don't remember. Brian was he'll probably laugh at this. Brian was a kid, he was 4 years older than me, but he was a kid that if someone dared him to do something, he'd do it.
That tracks.
Yeah, I don't think he'd argue with me that. But, like we used to have this tabby cat, just used to stay at our house. So I just claimed it.
The neighborhood cat.
The neighbourhood cat. And beautiful thing. Well, but it used to what it does, because we had greyhounds, and we had a greyhound that was in the, like Dad had a pen and that made in the yard for him. So it had its run and its home and everything. Well, this cat used to walk along the top. And my brother-in-law at the time dared Brian. He said, Brian, I dare you to go up next time you see that cat, push it into the greyhounds thing. So he did. One day, which heartbroke me.
Yeah, having a sociopathic brother will do that.
But it was just because he was told to do it. They thought it would be fun. I don't think he thought of the consequences at the time, because he was probably about 13, 14, I suppose. I don't think he would have thought of the consequences of if the dog got it, but it did.
Your brother-in-law did.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But my brother...
Who was that?
Brian?
No. Which brother-in-law?
Oh, I don't want to name names.
Okay, because I've already posted reels about Uncle Mick with his dick out.
No, this was Uncle Pete. Kathy's Peter.
That tracks too.
Yeah. But, yeah.
This is why your grandson partially burned down your house.
But anyway, the moral of the story is the dog got an infection from the cat scratching it inside its throat, and they had to put it down.
I didn't even know your family had greyhounds.
Yeah. We had 6 of them at one stage when we were at Glendale, because we had the big double block, and Jimmy and that always had greyhounds when I was growing up, right till late teens, and Dad had runs and kennels built down the back, because we had like a big double block. That was where I put my first horse, down the back there, so it was quite large. There's some funny stories with having those greyhounds. I think they were more of a hobby. We only ever had one that really won anything, but I think it was just probably cost them more in food and everything and training than anything else. But up until till Dad passed away, we had greyhounds, or maybe a little bit before he passed away, but because once he started to get sick, they just got rid of them all, give them away. And they're such beautiful animals, greyhounds. They're very loyal.
And the way that they're raised now, that may not necessarily be the case, because they're not trained
now.
Like with animal rights and things, and shutting down greyhound racing. Like, it's quite possible that even greyhounds that do run, that same thing may not happen today.
I used to go along to the greyhound races with my family. Sam, who was, his racing name was Glad Dollar. He's the only one I really remember, but other than Susie and Spot and George. We had a brindle called George.
I was going to say, these all sound like dogs.
Susie and Spot were black and white, but they were opposites. Like, one was black in certain parts and white in the other. They were opposites. I can't remember the other 2's names we had, but they used to, we used to walk them all around, like Jimmy and Jeff, the older boys, used to walk the dogs. Julie used to walk the dogs on certain afternoons. But the only one I can remember ever winning was Glad Dollar. That was the first greyhound they had, and his kennel name was Sam. We used to call him Sam. That was my favourite. And I remember he won his first race and won quite a bit of money for my brothers. But then one of the races I went up, it was up at, I think, Musselbrook. I know it was a long way away. I was only young. We're still living at Glendale. We're all around the track, and he's going really well. And I called out, "Go, Sam! Go, Sam!" Whoa. My brother's going, "Jenny, no, it's Glad Dollar. You don't call out Sam." I was
distracted him.
Not allowed to go back anymore to any of the races.
Story of my life. You got to tell me there are rules.
I don't know. As I said, I was very young, so I remember a lot of doing things with family, but yeah, it's nice to be close to them. And I found out the hard way when Mum and the oldest brother moved up to Queensland. You don't realise how far away Queensland is until...
Spend 8 hours driving there.
But anyway, but we're off track now.
Yeah, that's often how this happens. tangents come from tangents, lead on to further tangents. But thank you for coming and thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Hope I didn't embarrass myself.
Well, that depends on how I get it.
Yeah, we'll see. See what you cut out and what you leave in.
Well, for the most part, I only cut out things if people specifically request it. Other than that, it's just smoothing things out, removing gaps where I'm looking for stuff and whatnot. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time in the Naughty Corner.